Okay. Hello, everyone. We're gonna do a fun, like kid-friendly thing. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. All right, you guys had it by the first clap, so that worked. Awesome. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're in the LinkedIn headquarters in the Empire State Building. Round of applause for that. It's pretty cool. Last time I was here, I think I was a kid and I was on the observation deck. So very different feeling. Oh, okay, sounds good. We'll be on this side. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming to this Climate Week event. We're here to talk about leveraging LinkedIn to supercharge your climate job search. My name is Radhika Bhatt. I'm a climate career coach. And we're also partnering with the LinkedIn Environmental Sustainability team to make this event happen. A little bit about me, and we'll introduce ourselves. So excited to be doing this event with both of you. Yeah, my name is Radhika. We have our LinkedIn QR codes up on these slides, so definitely feel free to connect with us. I'm a climate career coach. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years. I've coached over 350 job seekers in that time, all that are transitioning into the climate space at a variety of career levels. I've partnered with climate people to run these sorts of events. I work with Terra.do, work on climate, a variety of climate organizations to help job seekers like yourself. I'm based in Richmond, Virginia. My company is called Sathe Studio. This is the website, and I'm also left-handed. We're actually all left-handed, which is really fun. And I'm a DJ outside of career coaching as well.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I've met a lot of you virtually, so it's so nice to see all of you in person. My name is Natalie Lavery. I head up marketing for Climate People. Climate People is a climate technology recruitment and advisory firm, essentially operate like a traditional recruitment agency would, but only work with companies that are working on climate solutions. And of course, the other half of that is working with job seekers, many like yourselves, who are looking to transition into climate and pairing those two together to get more people working in this space. We're a really small team. We're a team of 3, so only have around 10 or so jobs posted on our job board at any time. So that's where my job comes in, hosting events like this. I've hosted over 100 virtual events where I've seen many of your faces. So super excited, like I said, to be here in person. And I live in Driggs, Idaho, which is right on the Wyoming border near the Tetons, town of 2,000 people. So being in New York is really fun and also a little invigorating. But yeah, again, thanks so much, LinkedIn, for having us too. Super excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharmila Singh. I'm the founder of Greenlands Consulting, and I've been in the climate space since 2014, supporting companies with their ESG reporting and zero waste programming. And I'm also a career coach, working with those who want to pivot into the field of climate or social justice or advance in the field. I was the director of career services at the Presidio School of Sustainable Management for 3 years, where I supported folks at the early stage of their career journey as students up to alumni. So I really love this work, and I'm so honored to be here with these two amazing women. I had the I met Natalie through Climate People and her amazing courses via LinkedIn, and I had the pleasure of meeting Radhika and being on a panel with her for Climate People earlier this year. So we're all really excited to be here, and let's dive in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So before we jump into talking about all things LinkedIn, I wanted to ground us a little bit in the climate reality right now to also think and talk through the why behind why are we all trying to get jobs in climate, which I think you all probably know because you're here. As you all know, the need is urgent. We have a lot of work to do in this decade and in the coming decades to really be able to prevent further damage from climate change. So the goals that a lot of us are all following are that we need to reach zero emissions by 2050 to stay below 1.5 C in global warming, but we also need to reach zero emissions by 2065 to stay below 2.0 Celsius. So what that really means is that we need to see a 50% reduction in global emissions by 2030. Right now, we have to do all of this work. So that means that the time right now, again, we're in a very pivotal decade to be able to make a lot of these changes. And when you look at the disruption that climate change is causing, there are a lot of different types of disruptions in terms of innovation that are changing the global GDP in a variety of different sectors around the world as well. Let's take the renewable energy sector related to disrupting oil and gas, the way that things have been done so far. That's causing an 11% disruption in the global GDP, which means more jobs, job creation certainly, but also we have to shift the way that we're doing a lot of things. I have a lot of these numbers here, which are circularity, electric vehicles, even like plant-based and agriculture-based disruption as well. You can see that the disruption here is massive, but it's an opportunity to innovate and change a lot of the ways, these systems of harm that have brought us to the way that we're living right now. When we look at the funding perspectives of this space, there's been a lot of funding from the VC space going into new climate tech startups and startups in general. But really, 2021 was the year that climate went mainstream, right? That was the year when a lot of different climate education programs really took off. And there's been a really big drive and a mission for people to move into climate, I think, an uptick in that over the last few years. So with that, the climate tech startup ecosystem has seen kind of a boom. There's been a 26% increase in VC investment. These numbers are from 2022. And there have just been so many, around 45K climate tech companies that were started from 2022 and onwards. What this means is that there's been a massive demand for green skills and green jobs. We're here at the LinkedIn headquarters. LinkedIn compiles so much data on jobs, job demand, new skills that are being required by companies. This is from the 2023 LinkedIn Green Skills Report. They release it every single year. If you're ever a job seeker where you're like, I have all these skills, but I want to know what's in demand, this is an amazing resource to go to. So as you can see, the demand for green jobs is really taking off. Now, also, some of you might be thinking through and experiencing, well, then why is the job market so difficult right now? So I wanted to just address that briefly, because I know it's kind of the elephant in the room, right? It's a difficult time right now. It's taking a bit longer for job seekers to get hired. Interview processes have changed. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So in the last year, though, in 2023, VC funding did look a little bit different. There was a dip in it, but also kind of respectively looking at the rest of capital investment, climate tech investment still grew compared to everything else as well. I've talked a little bit about VCs, startups, but that of course is not the only place where funding is flowing. With the Inflation Reduction Act, there's been a massive investment from the government in the United States that trickles down into a variety of different organizations. There's also philanthropy, there's nonprofits, there's community-based organizations that are doing this work. And so there's a lot of different ways to get involved, even outside of the startup space. And this information actually just came out from LinkedIn last week. So I integrated it into the slide deck for today. This came from the LinkedIn Stock Take, which is a more recent review of kind of global jobs, skills that are required. And there's really interesting information in there. They say that by 2050, there's going to be twice as many jobs requiring green skills as there are people qualified to fill them. The demand for talent in the last year, I think in the last few years, grew by 11.6%, but the demand for talent grew twice as fast as supply. So people with the skills only grew by 5.6%. And globally, job seekers with green skills see a 5.6 higher hiring rate than the average. So there's a lot of data here that pretty much means you all are in demand. Your skills, we need your work, we need your power in this space. And so at the same time, we recognize that the job market is difficult and it's kind of hard to get noticed. So we're here today to talk about, so how can I land a job in climate? We're going to talk through how LinkedIn and a few other strategies can help you move forward.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Radhika, for that amazing background on why we're all here. But I know we're all here because we want a job and we want to work in this space. So today we're going to talk about how you can optimize your LinkedIn profile, really talking about integrating your brand and keywords so that your profile can get noticed, followed by leveraging your LinkedIn profile, using LinkedIn resources and other resources to, again, get noticed. And then lastly, applying all of that to networking and how you can create a community of people via LinkedIn. So Radhika talked about this when she was talking about kind of the dip in funding and how I don't have to tell any of you that it's a hard time to look for a job in climate. That's just the reality of the situation. But hopefully today we can give you some tools and resources to flip that on its head and make it an opportunity for you. So on average, Climate People sees 650 applications for every job that we post. And all of our clients are seeing that many, if not more. And again, I don't put this in here to scare you. I think a lot of you already know this reality. However, bring it up to say that it's really easy as a job seeker to apply to jobs right now. You've all seen LinkedIn's Easy Apply feature. There's AI tools like Apply All, which you can submit your resume and it automatically applies you to hundreds of jobs, which seems cool on the surface. It makes it easier for all of you to submit applications. But the reality is, a lot of climate companies are startups. They have small teams and limited capacity to go through applications. So ultimately, they end up sourcing their own talent. They're using a tool called LinkedIn Recruiter, which we'll get into a little bit later on, to find these people directly. And oftentimes, they're not even going through their applications. So how can you leverage your LinkedIn to be one of those people that they're finding? You don't have to just be one of the 650 people that are sitting in those job applications. So with any job search, what all of you, I imagine, are already doing is a lot of legwork. You have to apply to jobs, you have to network, you have to go to events like this, you have to put yourself out there and do all of the work. However, when you optimize your LinkedIn profile, it creates a positive feedback loop. And this is something we're going to refer back to a lot today. It's about how you optimize your profile so that opportunities come to you, networking conversations come to you at the same time that you're still reaching out and doing all of that. But it makes it a lot easier. It takes some of the weight off of your shoulders. So that's going to be the main focus of today's conversation is how do you have to do less work? How can you still show up and be present without having to get bogged down by the amount of outreach that you have to do? Awesome. Over to you, Sharmila, to talk about your branding and your messaging.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. So as we're looking at utilizing LinkedIn to amplify your network and your outreach, I want to talk with you about crafting your unique message. When I'm working with my clients, I talk about this in terms of building your online brand. So we have this great opportunity with LinkedIn that serves as a platform to share your unique story with your community, with colleagues, with recruiters, and essentially the world. Your skills, your talents, your expertise, this is essentially your brand. So I want to help you today kind of craft that brand so it's not only searchable and visible. We're going to talk all about LinkedIn optimization, but also truly authentic to you. When you look at your profile, I want you to think, yeah, that's me. That's what I do. That's what I'm interested in. These are the impacts I want to make. It resonates with you. And it also will increase your searchability. So when we're talking about brand, the kind of components of your brand being the unique skills, your expertise, perhaps the methodology you bring. For those of you who are consultants, I really suggest having your methodology within your LinkedIn About section. Tell us how you do what you do. Tell us about your process. Tell us about the pain points that you solve for. Showcase some of your impacts. So all of these in combination, again, kind of showcase what you uniquely do for your clients, your customers. And this is what separates you from others. At the very foundation of this, when I'm working with folks, I like to think about addressing your superpowers. We all have them. These are the skills that you innately bring to any role. This could be perhaps you're really organized or you like to create processes. Perhaps you're really into research and analysis, or you can create a really rockin' Excel spreadsheet. I know I love an Excel. All of these things I want you to think about, these are your transferable skills. These are skills that are transferable across industry. Whether you're in an expertise now or you want to pivot into climate, these are the points that I kind of want you to start with. And then ask yourself, what are some of your expertise? Radhika and Nellie, I talk about this all the time, where we say we need all of you in this space. We need all of your expertise. I work with folks with a background in law, marketing. I work with artists, and all of you have this unique lens that you bring to the industry. So I want you to think about what are those innate skills you have? What are these expertise that you can bring? And then whether you're starting your journey in climate or you're already in the climate field, starting to think about what is that kind of combination of skills that you want to showcase. For those of you who are just starting your journey, I often get the question asked, it's like, wow, this space is so vast. I don't even know where to begin, let alone do I know how to message myself. So what I suggest is start to think about what are some of these key passions that you have within the space? What are the impacts you want to make? These passions are the things that you naturally gravitate towards. These are the things that you tend to research when you have your spare time. These are the things that you're just kind of doing on your own. So maybe pick 2 or 3 of these kind of components and you can integrate that within your messaging. So your essential innate qualities combined with some of your climate interests start to create a really rich story. So now, I know we didn't say to bring any pens or papers, but I see that some of you have a notebook. I'm going to put you all to work. We're going to put all this information into practice, and I'm going to have you start to develop your brand statement. So this brand statement you can use in a couple different places. We're talking about LinkedIn today. It goes really well in your about section. You can also use this as your thesis statement in your resume or CV, and then also when you're networking. So this is a nice kind of clear, cohesive statement that you can use and apply in different scenarios. So for those of you who don't have pen and paper, you can use your notes app on your phone. But we're gonna run through a little exercise. Y'all game? Okay, let's do it. Uh-oh. There it is. So we're going to start to create what I call as your brand statement. And we're going to kind of run through this kind of quickly to be mindful of time, but we're going to share this deck with you. I see a lot of photos being taken. Don't worry, you're going to get this. So what I'm going to do is walk you through a couple of prompts here, and you're going to come away with some key terms. Just key terms that are going to be building blocks for this statement that we're going to create together. So let's get started with this first one. I want you to think about your essence factor. And when I'm talking about that, what I mean is tell me about the times where you feel like you've been truly in your element, maybe working on something and it's just like time goes. These are the things that you just kind of like really feel like when you're working on them, you're in your zone. Take a few moments to take note of these things. Okay, I'm going to move on to this boss factor. The boss factor is like the knowledge you hold, your expertise. This is what you've just been doing for a long time. This is the skills that you bring. Perhaps if you have certifications, say you're in program management, you have your PPM, think about the things that you have an expertise in. These are also searchable terms. So things that you often find in role descriptions, for example. So program management, operations, these are your specialties. Okay, last one. This is what I call the superstar factor. We actually got a head start on this already in the slide previously, thinking about these innate skills that you bring. This is often what people come to you for in your professional life or even personal life. Maybe your friends are coming to you because you're very organized, or maybe you're able to take complex information and distill it down into information that is engaging to specific audiences. What is this thing that you can bring that speaks to you and that honestly is something that you really enjoy as well? Okay, now we're going to put it all together. So here's the template for your brand statement. It kind of looks like Mad Libs. I know we're just filling in blanks here, but that's on purpose. I originally, created this and supported folks with this when they're creating their bios. And I don't know about you, but when I've created a bio, it's taken me hours and I'm like, what am I doing right now? So I want you to like kind of quickly fill in key terms from the prompts I gave you and start to build your brand statement. You can have a couple of variations of this, but I don't know about you. I'm a visual person. So let me share an example. This is a client of mine that we designed this brand statement together. She's a responsible supply chain professional with 7 years of experience working with Fortune 500 companies to create operational efficiencies and improve sustainable supply chains. Passionate about utilizing business as a tool for positive impact with a proven record, a proven experience in conceiving, developing, and implementing sustainable and ethical global supply chain strategies. She's telling us what she's good at, who she does it for, and how. So kind of think about how you want to craft your messaging using this template. And this is just a start too. Like you can use these as your template prompts, but if you want to vary from this and add your own phrase that's come up in the prompts I shared with you, go for it. Okay, I'm going to give you about a half a minute more. Okay, I see some of you still writing. It's really hard for me to stop you, but do I have a brave soul that wants to share what they've created? Okay.
All right. I am a SaaS specialist known for creating exceptional customer experiences and marrying business strategy with climate goals. I use my relationship management skills and the power of connecting people to impact climate tech startups. I use my network to serve the planet.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Let's hear it. So that's really great. I know I gave you a really short time to work on this, but keep playing at it and keep working at it. And we're also going to talk about how to integrate this within your about section. But now I'm going to pass it on to Natalie to talk about LinkedIn profile essentials.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Shamila, for that. And yeah, super important to not only just create a LinkedIn profile that speaks to the algorithms, but also speaks to the people who are going to be looking at your profile. So yeah, now I'm going to talk about the boring stuff, the algorithm. I'm just kidding. It's not boring. Cool. So I hinted at this earlier when I was talking about LinkedIn Recruiter and how a lot of applications are clogging founders' job applications, and then they have a hard time going through those applications. So they ultimately just rely on their networks and finding their own people. So this is a screenshot from the back end of LinkedIn Recruiter. The way it works is you post a job. When you upload that job, you list all of the skills, the locations, the qualifications, some keywords to go with that job. And then the sourcing tool recommends people that you should connect with for the job. There's also LinkedIn sourcing that's not connected to job postings at all. So you can just go in and find people via that search platform. So the bottom line here is, how can you optimize your profile so that when recruiters and hiring managers are searching for people, you show up first? It operates kind of just like Google would. Say you're asking a question in Google, the article or the website that answers that question is going to pop up on the first page of Google. It's going to get the most clicks. Same exact idea here. The profile that matches up with the qualifications that they're searching for is going to pop up first. This person's going to get, in essence, the most clicks, so the most profile views and messages. So how can you do this? Actually, before how we can do it, this is another screenshot from a LinkedIn Recruiter search on the bottom here. So this was a search that I did. I put in all the qualifications, the locations, all of that. And then these are the people that popped up. It says that 307 of them are open to work. We'll dive into the importance of that in one slide. 282 of them are active talent. So they have an active presence on LinkedIn. They're engaging with people. They have a complete profile, all of that. Internal candidates isn't relevant here. 27 are interested in my company. So 27 people follow Climate People. And then lastly, 29 have company connections. So 29 of those people are connected to me or to Brendan or someone else at Climate People. So the bottom line here is, when someone has a LinkedIn Recruiter license, the average seat that you can have gives you 100 emails per month. So that means you can send 100 messages to people every month. And I think that might sound like a lot, but when you're hiring for a lot of jobs, 100 is not a lot at all. So recruiters use those very sparingly. They're only going to send messages to people that, one, are good for the job, and then two, are likely to respond. So if you match all of those buckets, in a recruiter's mind, you are viewed as more likely to respond, more engaged with the company, kind of going the extra mile to get a job in this space. So you just need to be asking yourself, how can I be doing this? Should I be following the companies I'm interested in, connecting with the founders I'm interested in, making posts, engaging, all of that? And then also going to talk about open to work too a little bit. But now we're going to go through the profile top to bottom and really talk about how you can integrate your brand, as Sharmila just outlined, and then also optimizing it to work with LinkedIn's algorithm. So starting with the open to work feature, all the way down to the recommendations. We'll go over all of these in depth. So open to work, I know it's the age-old debate if you should have the hashtag open to work banner in your profile picture. And I'm here to say it's not a debate at all. If you are looking for a job, you should have open to work on your profile. As we saw in the previous slide, LinkedIn recruiters can see if you're open to work. If you're trying to hire someone, you probably want to hire someone who you know is open to work. And every time I talk about this, I have the argument of, I'm currently employed. I can't show my employer that I'm looking for a job. And that is true. I'm with you. You probably don't want to have the hashtag in your banner if you are currently employed. So on the right here, you can see there's two options when you go to, or my right, yeah, y'all's right too. But recruiters only, and then all LinkedIn members. So if you don't want your boss to see, click recruiters only. The way this works is every company has a unique company ID. So say Climate People's is 123. All of the recruiters at Climate People also have that 123 associated to their profile. So LinkedIn Recruiter doesn't show them that I'm open to work. Only outside people can see it. So bottom line, please mark yourself as open to work. You can put job titles you're interested in. You can put your pay. And then LinkedIn also feeds jobs to you. Going back to what I was saying earlier with the positive feedback loop, jobs are going to get fed to you. Recruiters are going to find you. Connections are going to find you. So do it. And if you're not convinced by everything I just said, here's some data from LinkedIn that backs up everything I just mentioned. So you have open to work, you're 2 times as likely to get a message from a recruiter. So doubling down the messages that you're getting inbound. Again, you don't have to do all of the work. They're coming to you. Then also, members who have the photo frame are 40% more likely to receive messages from recruiters and 20% more likely to receive community messages. So making networking easier, bringing opportunities to you, you get the gist here. And then also, you're not alone. 28 million members worldwide have the photo frame on their profile. Awesome. Now over to you, Sharmila, to talk about your banner.
Yeah, so as you're starting to look at customizing your LinkedIn profile and optimizing it, I want you to also think about how you're going to define your visual brand. This is the first thing we see when we look at your LinkedIn page. It's the first thing at the very top that pops out. I really recommend customizing this section to speak to visually what you represent, what impacts you want to make in the space. I have a couple examples here. So the first one on the top is Sandra. Her headline or her banner is pretty simple, right? It's just the planet. And her thinking, okay, global issues, initiatives. And then her profile headshot is you see little like TEDx on the side. So you're like, okay, she's boss. What's going on there? And so viscerally, we're like, I want to know what 10 power is. I want to know what's going on there. So whatever's like kind of going to capture the attention of your viewer. And then you can also get really creative with it. And Denise's banner here, she's created a tagline, paving the way for ethical and sustainable supply chain. And she has a visual. I suggest creating these in Canva. So you don't have to mess with any sort of, is this photo going to fit? Is it not going to fit? They have great templates in Canva for LinkedIn banners. Go in there and customize your banner. And if you're like having a hard time figuring out like, okay, what do I even want to showcase? 2 things. Maybe think about 1, how do you want people to feel when they jump on your LinkedIn page? And then secondly, what is that thing that you're really you're really passionate about, the impact that you want to share? How can you turn that into a visual component? I'm going to pass it back on to Natalie, who's going to talk to us more about optimizing our profile.
So yeah, continuing down the profile, now we're talking about your headline. If any of y'all have attended any of my webinars, I talk a lot about LinkedIn headlines, but I think they're really, really important. And going back to the search engine, operating like Google, your headline is some really key territory. If you have an optimized headline, you're going to get more outreach. You're going to get discovered more. So when you make your LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn automatically makes your headline your job title at company. So mine would be marketing lead at Climate People, which is great, but that's not really doing anything for me. People are not searching that, and that's not going to help me pop up. So I always recommend that you take the advantage and optimize this. And unlike your resume, you really can't tailor your LinkedIn profile for every job that you're applying to. So you have to tailor it to a whole host of jobs. And this is a formula that I recommend you follow. So go to job boards and find 30 job titles that you're interested in. 30 jobs, everything that you would consider applying to, and just record those job titles. Also save the URL, so we'll come back to this, but have those 30 job descriptions flagged, and then pinpoint the most reoccurring 3 to 7 keywords. You can do this in Chat GPT. You can do this in Word Cloud. You can just look at it and highlight it, whichever way you want to go. But find those 3 to 7 keywords that are used across all of those job titles. And those are going to be your keywords. And then you're going to write your headline using those keywords and a quantifiable impact statement, which essentially just means how can I show this person my value in a few words. So on the screen here, you can see when you do a search in LinkedIn, all you see is the person's picture, their name, and their headline. So when you're a recruiter and you're going through hundreds of applications, you're looking at this really quickly. So the goal here is how can I encapsulate their attention and convert them to want to talk to me in a span of 5 seconds. And this formula is a great formula to follow. So the green is the keywords that I pulled from all the job descriptions. And then the black is that quantifiable impact statement. So software engineer, database developer, and analytics manager at HubSpot. This person put HubSpot because HubSpot's a name that people recognize and it's impressive. And then increase automation levels by 55%. So get the gist here. I'd want to talk to this person. They showed me exactly the skills they have, what they're doing, and then the impact that they could have at my company. Here are some more examples here as well. The left is the stronger ones. The right is the ones that need a little bit of work. So just an example, tech product management, advisor, climate tech, experienced in quickly scaling products and organizations from 0 to millions of users, and USD x Tencent. So get the gist here, pretty impressive background. Do you want to call attention to the one on the bottom right over there? At a glance, that looks like it's really strong. And for a tech professional, that one is really strong. However, if you are looking for a job in climate, which I know all of you are, you need to have climate in your headline. These hiring managers are searching for climate, so you need to speak to the impact here as well. So make sure you're integrating climate in your headline. Awesome. Moving down the LinkedIn profile now to skills tags. This is something that honestly I didn't even have on my profile a few years back. It's something I didn't really think was needed. But going back to LinkedIn Recruiter, my favorite thing to talk about today is when you are looking for a candidate, there's a box for you to type in skills. And I'm going to the job description, I'm pulling all of those skills and I'm directly typing them in. LinkedIn is then checking the skills tags on profiles, and people who have those skills are showing up at the top of my list. So you can have 100 skills tags on your profile, use all 100 of them. That is 100 opportunities to have a match on your profile. You can also have your network endorse these skills, which is super important and helpful. And then also I recommend lastly, put your top skills at the top. When you're on someone's profile, you can't see all 100 skills, obviously. You have to click see more. So the ones you want people to actually look at, the ones you aren't just putting for the algorithm, put those at top because that is what they are going to see. And again, if I haven't convinced you with the last slide, here is some more data to back up straight from LinkedIn. So 48% of hirers, or so recruiters and hiring managers on LinkedIn are explicitly using skills data to fill jobs. So nearly half of the people who are doing the hiring on this platform are looking for your skills. And a lot of people don't even have them on their profile. And then again, going back to the positive feedback loop and bringing opportunities to yourself, members who have skills are getting 2 times as many profile views and 2 times as many connection requests and 4 times as many messages. So when you optimize your profile, again, the weight is coming off of your shoulders. You're having opportunities come in your door as well. Perfect. And now on your About You section and integrating some branding into that.
Thanks, Natalie. So we talked about your banner, your headline, taglines. Now you have the opportunity in your About section to kind of create a nice through statement that goes from your visual captive of the banner into your tagline, and now you can tell me more in your About section. So we're creating a nice, like, cohesive story throughout your LinkedIn profile. At first glance, you look at this About section and you're like, wow, this is a lot of words. It's really verbose. We're doing this on purpose. I want to make sure that we tell your story. And secondly, we're filling this About section up with keywords and key terms. So key terms are applicable to your industry. For Denise, for example, she's all about supply chain and business development. So we've got Kaizen, Six Sigma, and she speaks to some of her impacts. Let's go through this about section. The first paragraph is something you already worked on, is your personal brand statement. It goes here, it sets the stage for the rest of your about section profile. You can then follow this up with some of your superstar factors, like these kind of components, these innate things that you bring, the innate skills, and then tell me more about your impacts, the impacts you've made. If you can share quantifiable points, even better. Tell me how much, how many people you manage. If you created efficiencies, if you can give me a soft percentage on that. This tends to ground our statements. If you have a personal brand statement and it just sits by itself, it's still like, okay, great, but what does that look like in action? These action statements that showcase impacts will ground your personal brand statement. What I love about the about section is that it really offers an opportunity to showcase your personality. In Denise's profile, what I love is that she's talked all about her leadership skills and she has the folks that she's worked with, but then she talks about how she leads. She leads with the mindset of applying the platinum rule. So talking about how she wants to treat people as they would want to be treated. This does two things. Number one, it shows me what kind of leader she is. And secondly, it signals to recruiters and the folks who are reading it what types of organizations she's going to lead for. So utilize your about section to share your story, but also use it to be a platform for really showcasing the impact you want to make, who you are, and the lens you have, and essentially the change you want to see in the world. Going down to the featured section. Oh, go ahead.
Question about the previous slide.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed reviews about the length of the about section.
Yeah.
Then people say like keep it short, and others like use all the space. Like this, for example, to me feels a lot of people. Are people really gonna read through all of that?
So it depends. We're doing a couple of things. We're optimizing SEO, so search engine optimization. So we're filling this up with keywords. And I say, like, if your personal, like the statement, the first statement, that first section is strong, great. Someone reads that and reads a couple bullets, fantastic. If they want to take the time to read through all of it, that's great. What I want to make sure is that it looks organized. So this is a visual representation of how you write, how you organize your thoughts. So as long as it doesn't look messy and it's kind of to the point, I think it's fine. Will everyone read it? Maybe not, but I know that I've seen this, like if I've met someone or if you've gone through the interviewing process and you start seeing folks from the company looking at your LinkedIn page, I would say it'd be nice to have a really kind of cohesive about section so they can get a sense of what it's like to work with you.
Yeah, and can I add to that
Yeah.
real quick too? So, the framework that I kind of coach people on for telling their story, the two most important questions are, what do I do and who do I help? And that who do I help piece, you could do that in like bullets. So that's what I always recommend is if you're not sure, like also experiment, see what a long bio looks like, see if you get more attention, people on your profile, recruiters reaching out to you. And if not, try and shorten it, but make sure that you're including all the like really key pieces. And you can also break up that content visually. You don't only have to have paragraphs. You could have bullets. You can use emojis. Like you can get creative with how you present that information too. But for example, if you're a freelancer or consultant, the question that you're really answering for people is what do I do and how can I come in and fix your problem, right? Or create a solution for you. So I've seen kind of the mix of you can have a really in-depth one, but consultant bios I feel like are really like you can just have bullets to be like, if you're this type of person, this is what I can do for you. And I think it goes for full-time roles as well.
That's such a good point. And this is a living document. You can play around with it. You have a beta, you can try test it, see how it's serving your audience, and you can change it if needed. So thanks for that. Moving on to the featured section. So this is in between your about section and your experience section. I love this section. This is a place where you can really showcase how you work and share some of the things that you've worked on. So I have Natalie's amazing featured section here, putting her on the spot. So she's showcasing her course that's coming up, the boot camp, and she's also has her webinars here. This gets This adds another dimension to your LinkedIn profile. Now we get to see you in action. So I say utilize this features section. If you've worked on case studies or white papers, anything that you haven't, obviously if you have signed an NDA, you can't share, but things that you've worked on that you can share, utilize this section to showcase that. And again, we're creating a through line from your tagline to your about section, now having this third area where you're now showcasing it in another dimension. And now let's look at our experience section. So one thing I want to note is this doesn't need to be a regurgitation of your resume. You don't need a lot of bullets here. I'd say have 3 to 4 strong bullets. And the common mistake I see here is that folks are using that first statement to explain what their company does. Your LinkedIn should be all about you. This is the place where you can really just make it all about you. And that first statement showcase the overarching impacts you made for the organization. And I suggest making that first statement a zinger, because we have this like click see more. Not everyone's going to click see more. So we want whatever we're looking at to make an impact and to stand out. You can also add media here. So there's a component where you can attach things you've worked on for the organization. I do suggest doing that. Always make sure your experience section, like you have your company logos there, make sure it looks clean. If you have your own consultancy, for example, always create a business section, add your logo, so then your logo shows up here. It just visually looks cleaner and sharper. Lastly, also highlight your quantitative points. As you did in your about section, if you can showcase any quantitative metric that showcases how you measured success or why you did something, that helps to ground your statements. And it gives me more of scope and scale. Then I know how much or how many. For example, if you had a statement saying, manage 2023 ESG report. For those of you who've worked in ESG reporting, there's a lot of steps that go into that. So even creating something where it's like, manage ESG report for over 25 initiatives, looking at reducing energy costs by 20% by 2030. Now you've given me some scope, some scale, understanding kind of what you were focusing on. And the last section I'll speak to is your recommendation section. I love this section. This is like your own personal Yelp. How many of y'all have recommendations in your LinkedIn right now? Good. Yeah. So what I recommend for the recommendation section is to have a couple different viewpoints. Get a recommendation from someone you've led, someone who's led you, and someone you've worked alongside, just so we get a 360 viewpoint of what it's like to work with you. For your recommendations, I feel like really people want to help each other and write these recommendations, but oftentimes we just don't have the time. So what I suggest is reaching out to the folks saying, your point of contact, saying, hey, I'm revising my LinkedIn profile page. I would love a recommendation from you. I took the liberty to write it out. Here's the project we worked on and some of the key impacts. Take a look and feel free to edit this as you will. I guarantee they're going to take a big sigh of relief. You've done 80% of the work for them, and they can edit whatever they want as well. And so this will help them out and also make your recommendations like appear speedily. And now we're going to talk about leveraging LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. So this is something that I love, the clicker, thank you. This is something that I love to nerd out about, so just bear with me. Okay, so you all are in the driver's seat of your job search. And I'm gonna call out this this graphic again, because you all are, you're applying, you're outreaching, you're outstretching your arms, you're communicating with other people, you're putting your name out there, all the information is flowing one direction. By leveraging LinkedIn, by doing all these things I'm about to talk about, you can make it circular and you can make that flow of information go both ways. And it's going to help you, not only help you see more resources, more opportunities, but it's going to take some of that weight off. I know it's so hard if you're applying to 50 jobs a week. I've spoken to people this week that are like, yeah, I applied to 500 jobs in the last 3 months. It's really hard and it can be challenging and it can kind of weigh on you. But this, all the tools we're about to talk about can really help you, lighten that load and also help move yourself forward and really see results. So this is something that I talk about all the time with the people that I coach. So I'm excited and I'm just like a nerd about all things LinkedIn. So really having a moment right now, being at the LinkedIn headquarters talking about this. So as I mentioned, you're in the driver's seat of your job search. And then a little analogy that I've actually spoken about with folks here at Climate Week is actually you're a little spider. You're a spider and you're weaving a web of connections, of people, of resources, of organizations that can help you. So when you're in the driver's seat, when you're that little spider, um, the ways of using LinkedIn that can help move yourself forward are somewhat basic, following people that are leaders in the climate space or companies that you want to work for. As we mentioned before too, if you follow companies and you interact with their posts, it's actually going to help you on the back end of LinkedIn Recruiter and make sure that you show up in that company's search if you have the right skills and keywords on your profile as well. Liking, commenting, resharing relevant posts, this goes a long way. When I have some examples coming as well. When you comment on someone's post, people that you're not connected with can see that. So if you are commenting on a post, anyone in here posts about going to Climate Week and you comment, I was there, I had a great time. Who knows how many people can see that? And that again opens up the door for people to connect with you. And that's what we want. You can also make your own posts. You all are here at Climate Week, experiencing a lot of things, meeting a lot of people. This week is an amazing time to make your first LinkedIn post if you haven't already. But making your own post can also be maybe you're taking a fellowship program, maybe you're in the TerraDo program or Climate Base or 1.5 Academy. You can talk about what you're learning. Maybe you're in a master's program. You can also talk about what you're learning there. Maybe you just read something and you're like, this was really interesting, I want to share it. There's no shortage of posts that you can make that are simply demonstrating your knowledge, and that's what we want to see. You can also curate your connections in sectors of interest and also engage with people in meaningful ways. So I have some examples on all of this. So in terms of engaging with people and companies, I have a whole list coming in a second of a short list of these are people that are posting amazing job opportunities, posting networking opportunities, that are leaders in climate, subject matter experts as well. Those are the people that you want to follow so you can see what they are sharing. It's going to turn your LinkedIn newsfeed into an educational platform where you can stay up to date on what's happening in the climate space. What's a new policy that got released in a certain country? Who got funded? All these questions that you're exploring, LinkedIn can be the place where that information is fed to you if you follow the right people. You can also interact with people again, following, connecting, liking, resharing, or leaving a meaningful comment. And this term meaningful, it kind of goes with intentional. I'll talk about that in a second. And you can also identify the dream companies that you're interested in and follow them in their work. So I have an example here. Nick Martin is the CEO at Tech Change, a social impact focused nonprofit. And he does this thing, I think he has like 150,000 followers on LinkedIn, like LinkedIn influencer status. He does this thing every Saturday. It's called #Social Saturday, where he is, it's an opportunity to say, hey, if you're looking for a job or you're looking to connect with people, just go ahead and comment, who you are and what you're looking for. This post, this was actually from, I think, a few months ago, but as you can see, it got 241 people liking or hearting it. It got 575 comments and 5 reposts. That's a lot of people. At the very least, if you don't even post, you can simply scroll through that and see who are people similar to me, who are people that I want to connect with. So at the very least, by following someone like Nick or following these types of leaders, this is the sort of content that you're going to start to see. Another example of, meaningful comment is something that adds to the conversation. It helps kind of further the conversation. And a lot of people are making posts that are kind of asking a question. So this example is someone that I've worked with, also a Terra fellow. The only reason I have these screenshots up here, the reason why I saw this is because Balak here made this comment. I'm not even connected with Katie, the CIO who works in climate. But Katie here made this really interesting post, talking about the headlines that she's seeing as a CIO and kind of what's going on in the climate space. Balak here left a comment kind of responding to this last question of, what readings do you think address this challenge or learning in the climate space? Balakir left a comment saying, I read this really interesting article, thought I'd share with you. She got a direct interaction with Katie. Now this is a CIO. I don't know. Maybe it's New York. I don't know. Can you just like walk up to a CIO and just start talking to them? Not always. So again, this is kind of that place where LinkedIn really bridges that gap of making people who you maybe can't always talk to accessible. So commenting and interacting, leaving a meaningful comment, you're adding something to the conversation, and it again opens up a dialogue that you may not have been able to have otherwise. Now, this actually, I updated this slide this morning because it was a really like funny example of kind of what I'm talking about. But this happened last week to me. So I saw this post from my connection Danielle. He was talking about that LinkedIn stock take report. The new data that we're seeing about growth in the climate workforce. His post got 109 likes, it got 30 comments, 6 reposts. There's data on that. I saw this. I happened to see this almost like within the first hour that he posted it. And I immediately was like, oh my God, I need this data and I want to integrate it into this presentation. So I Googled it. I was like, oh, maybe this is from the LinkedIn, skills report. I couldn't find it. Simple as that. So I commented on it and I was like, hey, I actually really want to use this in my upcoming presentation. Can you share the link? I couldn't find it. Simple. I'm just asking for help at the end of the day. And I got 2 amazing interactions here that I just didn't expect. Neil Yo is the CEO and founder of 1.5 Academy, which is a climate upskilling education platform. They're doing incredible work. And I also got a direct comment from Ephraim Beiser, who is the Sustainability and Workforce Policy Partnerships lead at LinkedIn. I don't know either of those people, but those are definitely people that I want to have in my network. By commenting on this, I got their direct connection, and I actually got to meet both of them this week and reference this interaction, and they remembered. The outcome that this actually led to was Neil was having an event this week that I desperately wanted to go to. I think it was like about to get sold out or something. He actually responded to this. He looked at my LinkedIn, saw my request to join the event, and approved it. And I got to go to an event on Tuesday, or actually yesterday, because of this LinkedIn interaction. So this is a microcosm, right? This is just Climate Week. But imagine you're doing this once a week for jobs that you're applying for, events that you want to go to, conferences, and just people that you want to get in touch with. Imagine this at scale. You could have something like this happen once a week or even a few times a month, and it can really move you forward in your job search. So when I talk about, oh yeah, go ahead, you have a question.
Just wanted to share an example of something
Yeah.
that happened recently. Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
But I attended like 1.5 events on Monday, and I made a post about it because I really loved the event. So like the post came from a place of also just authenticity, but I tagged some of the companies that were there, like the people that were there. And I had the director of sustainability for one of the companies actually sending advice to me.
Let's go. That's
I
amazing.
never really used LinkedIn that much before, so I can see how like it could be leveraged.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So I heard you say a few things. You went to an event, you made the post, maybe you like shared a photo or even just text or something, and you tagged the person who was speaking. Those 2 things go such a long way. LinkedIn is, it's just like on every other social media platform in terms of the content that you share. It can go beyond just text. You can do photo, you can do video. And when you tag people, that actually opens up, I bet you that people that aren't even in your network saw that as well, right? So this is another example of, I've shown you a few slides here where I didn't see, I'm not connected to that person, but I saw it because someone liked or commented on it. So it's just another way of amplifying your reach. So thank you so much for sharing that. I love to hear these stories. If you don't want to listen to me, listen to this story. It works. It works. So another example, when I talk about creating your own posts, right? Going to an event is a perfect way of creating your own content. But you can also, let's say if you're a sustainability consultant or freelancer and you're looking for business, Joshua here actually made this post when he was kind of maybe year 2 of his freelance design journey, where he's saying, hey, I'm doing a free UX audit giveaway for climate companies that need help with X, Y, and Z. He offered this free service, and I can confirm that he actually got paying clients after this. So another give and take here, when you offer something, it can lead to more conversations and possibly lead to business or work or a contract that way as well. So there's no shortage of things you can talk about. An event you went to, something you're learning, something you want to share. I'm also thinking, we have quite a few organizations in the room. We've got someone from Terra here, someone from College to Climate. I'm just gonna put you on the spot, Cameron, too. Like, I've seen your content and I recognize your face because I see the videos that you post about climate careers as well. So in these sorts of spaces, it can also, the content that you create, it can be very generative for not only opportunities, but connections as well.
Can I add one thing to that? I recently saw a post that a woman made where she's in between roles and she has a background in climate, and she gave her personal pitch. She's like, here's my background. I have a PhD in this field, and I'm looking to consult. And here are the things, the pain points I can solve for. And she just bulleted them. She had 237 likes, and it got reshared and reposted, and folks were commenting on it. So that's another way of getting creative when you're posting. You can also just showcase, if you want to consult for a little while, showcase the skills you can offer and really utilize those posts.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also start small. I know a lot of people are kind of like, it's a little intimidating, like sharing your story, starting to post on LinkedIn. And it's not exactly, it's not the amount of interaction that you get that matters. It's just the consistency. You don't need to get 100 likes on something for it to matter. If you get 5 people that like it, that see it, that matters. And as you can continue doing it continually, it will make a difference. I also wanted to call out, I was speaking with a few folks earlier, we have a few climate scientists in the room that are very science focused. You're looking for science focused careers. There's been a lot of talk during Climate Week about how do we make climate science understandable to the masses, right? So if you're a climate scientist, you don't have to be talking about your skills necessarily, but do what you do best. Talk about the science, talk about that aspect as well. So whatever the angle, everyone here has something to share, and LinkedIn is a great one place to do it. So when you're growing your connections, this is also something I think about pretty often. So once you reach 500 connections on LinkedIn, you just get like a little note on your profile that says 500 plus connections. I've kind of heard directly from someone that worked at LinkedIn that it doesn't actually having 500 plus connections doesn't necessarily you don't get more features. You don't there's no tangible algorithmic change to it. But in my opinion, of the people that I've worked with and the changes that I've seen, when you intentionally build 500 plus connections, you simply see more content that is relevant to you. So if you're at the beginning stages of, I'm just getting started with my LinkedIn, maybe I only have 100 connections, that's okay. But definitely encourage you to spend the next month or so or next few weeks curating those connections. So with people that are in relevant industries, leaders, and people that you're meeting this week. Also, for career transitioners that have been working in one industry for a while, maybe you've been in healthcare for 10 years and everything you see is healthcare related. You can also curate, what's the content that you're seeing. I don't recommend disconnecting from anyone or unfriending, but you can unfollow. You can unfollow or unsubscribe from someone's content so they're not clouding your news feed. But I always say don't unfriend anyone, because you never know, maybe they're trying to get into climate, or maybe they can help you in the future as well. And I have here, following climate leaders, climate companies, and here's a really big list of a short list of the people that I'm always recommending. You can totally take a picture, and of course, these are all linked, so you'll get the names in the slide deck afterwards. But these are all people. I like to call this whole first row of bullets, I like to call them job fairies, because that's what they are. They're posting jobs, they're posting opportunities to connect, they're posting fellowships, graduate programs, you name it. These people are so incredible. There's a few of them that even focus on opportunities for youth, opportunities in social innovation, in climate. There's a lot of intersections of this. A lot of these climate organizations, these are leading organizations in the climate education space right now. So they also are applying or sharing jobs and opportunities to get involved. And lastly, the accelerators. Actually, a handful of those are even based in New York, but accelerators are a really interesting intersection point between what's the new technology being built and what do they need help with. So accelerator programs are funding startups and new technologies. So if you go to an accelerator page and then you go to their portfolio companies page, you're going to see a massive list of any and all the companies that they have funded. And most of those people are looking for people to help them scale those companies. So you can see almost like a bit of a hidden job market right there as well. So of course, now you've done all these resources, you've optimized your profile. Now, where do I find those climate jobs? And Natalie's going to walk us through that.
Yeah, certainly. So, like we said, even though you're creating that positive feedback loop and now you're having opportunities coming to you, you still unfortunately have to do some of the legwork. So, where do you find those jobs? Of course, we're at LinkedIn right now. So, you should start where you are. LinkedIn has tons of resources for job seekers looking for climate jobs. As we talked about quite a bit, the Green Skills Report, super helpful to know what's in demand, where your skills are transferable, kind of all of that. Also have a sustainability resource hub, tons of resources in there. Definitely recommend checking that out. LinkedIn Learning, hundreds and thousands of courses on there. Lots of them are focused on sustainability, on climate. I have made a LinkedIn course on getting a job in climate, so there's a lot out there. Would recommend checking those out. Then lastly, groups. Join the LinkedIn Green Jobs groups, join the sustainability groups, all of that. And again, they're linked here. So don't need to record it all now. We will send these slides out. But where do you find the jobs? Once you have the resources, once you've upskilled, once you know where you're going and your profile is optimized, it's time to apply to jobs. I always like to say that once you submit your application and once it gets looked at, if they want to maybe consider you, the next step that they're going to do is go look at your LinkedIn profile. So also directly plays into optimizing your LinkedIn. These are some job boards outside of LinkedIn. Recommend checking those out. Again, not going to go over them all now, but you'll get the links to them.
Super quick. Yeah. So with the job boards as well, and what I was mentioning with the climate education programs, a lot of those groups have Slack channels as well.
Mhm.
So we're talking so much about on LinkedIn, post content, interact, and things like that. But at the end of the day, there are other places where you can do that as well. And Slack channels are a really great place to do that. Yeah, what's the question?
You're a recruiter. Is there any advice on the other side of the page as a recruiter how to stand out and recruit the right? Because there's competition nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on LinkedIn,
Great
we've talked a lot about great question, but talked a lot about optimizing your profile. But I mean, the bottom line of any job search is how do I stand out when there's this many applications? And as we've talked about a lot, climate companies, a vast majority of them are startups. So how can you get to know the team there? How can you get referrals from in-house references? How can you network? And we're going to talk a bit about networking, but I would say getting in their network is really, really important. So submit your application, follow up on that application, try to have internal connections that can buy for you, kind of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll touch on that.
Oh, sorry. And I would also say as a recruiter, I guess on the recruiting side of finding those candidates, I think being involved in the communities where those people are, right? Like those Slack channels, Terra.do has an amazing Slack channel. What is it? Like Climate Base, Work on Climate is a massive one, right? That's where a lot of job seekers actively are. So joining those communities is great. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd also just add people who have a sense of like what your climate niche is going to be, right? So once you do the work that you guys talked about at the beginning of like narrowing down from a really wide, I want to work in climate lens to something more specific, like I want to work in energy tech or ag tech, whatever it is. Most of those industries will have industry specific groups, like networking groups that you can join. And these are a really useful tool, one, for making connections to other folks who are trying to find those jobs, but more importantly, getting connected to folks who are doing that work today. And that can be like really, really powerful.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for that input. Cool. Also, you don't have to go outside of LinkedIn to find climate jobs. There used to be a climate like filter on LinkedIn, and now it's now changed to job categories. So the way you go to this is go to the job board, scroll down, click explore via job categories. And then the two that are related to us are climate tech is an option, and then sustainability is an option. So LinkedIn backend tags those jobs that way. So it's a great way to not have to leave LinkedIn, but you can still find all of the climate related jobs via their job board. They also have like mobility, ed tech, like healthcare, tons of other categories as well. Cool. So now you have your brand, you have your profile updated, you know where you're going to look for jobs. But as we were just talking about, the next step is how can you stand out? How can you really not just submit your application and end there? And that's where networking really comes in. But to kickstart networking, you have to find people to connect with. This is a great way to find hiring managers via LinkedIn. So go to the search tab, click on the people tab, put in all of your parameters, so location, job title, all of that, and then click those two industries. These are the two industries that are focused on climate on LinkedIn: climate technology, product manufacturing, and climate data analytics, kind of just like the most broad climate company categories that are on LinkedIn. And then use this search. So do parentheses, your job title, whatever that is, in parentheses, and then you have to actually type and parentheses, hiring, in parentheses. And as you can see on the screen over there, these are all the people that are hiring project managers in climate. So pretty great to find those people right there. You can send them a message with some of your brand statement that you already wrote, and that's a great place to kickstart some of your networking. Speaking of networking, now we're going to talk about how you can really leverage networking.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is again where it's the topic of it all being cyclical comes in again, right? When you're researching 30 jobs to find relevant skills, you can look at the people that have those jobs and send a connection request. When you're researching, what are the skills of mine that I want to bring out? When you're doing all this research, you can connect with all those people and always, 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 I don't know if we got a slide on it, but always send a message in the connection request. There's like so much data. It's like a way higher amount of people that accept those. And it's as simple as, hey, I saw that you posted this thing and I thought it was interesting, want to connect. Or it could be, oh, it looks like you're doing interesting work. I'd love to connect. Very, very simple message, but sending that message informs people, why you're reaching out. So definitely recommend that. This is a topic. Emergent strategy is something that Sharmila and I really care about. It is a theory and practice for better world building. It's a book written by Adrienne Maree Brown. It is an incredible book, highly, highly recommended. It is the basis of my coaching practice. And these are the basic tenets of emergent strategy. You can read all of them here, but there's a lot of components of biomimicry, learning from indigenous wisdom that are all rooted, that have created this strategy, but apply to the ways that we build relationships today. One thing I want to call out is focusing on critical connections more than critical mass. We can, we talked about all this data, getting 500 connections and whatnot, but the important thing here is it's not just the number of people that you connect with, but the conversations that you're having with them, the intentionality behind each of those connections, and really also nurturing that connection afterwards as well. If you have one conversation with someone, I would love if they could just refer you or, become a mentor immediately. But that's not oftentimes how things work because we have to move at the speed of trust. Trust building takes time, takes a few conversations. Maybe it takes showing up to events and having those conversations a few times. But focusing on those critical connections and taking the time to build them is what can help you see results in the long run. And that's really what we want. And you also build resilience and build a foundation of strong relationships by focusing on those intentional pieces as well. Did you want to add anything, Shamira?
I think the only thing to add is, LinkedIn provides such a great opportunity to curate your ecosystem and to give back to that ecosystem, right? So you can share your unique voice, your lens, your take, your resources. So there's this really beautiful symbiotic relationship that you can create that is beautiful to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk a lot about a circular economy, regenerative agriculture. You can make your relationships regenerative as well. And emergent strategy is one amazing way of doing that. Should I talk to this? Okay, okay, got it. So planned happenstance theory. This is something that I talk a lot about, but then a workshop with Natalie actually like helped me find the words for this. But this is another, I think, coach or leader that you work with has kind of coined all these terms. And so here's an angle of, we've talked about all these really tangible strategies, right? Talk to this many people a week, connect with this many people. We've had all the data. But there's also serendipity outside of all of that, things that you can't plan for. And I really like this concept of planned happenstance theory because it's a little bit of strategy and a little bit of serendipity all in one. So you can plan for all the things, right? Deciding what to do, building proactive strategies. That's everything we talked about today. Following the right people, reaching out, posting content. What will happen is still a little bit unknown. Someone might connect with you unexpectedly, or you might have a conversation here and there. And the stance is really the attitude that you bring to those elements. Are you open to having that kind of unexpected conversation? I think on the previous slide, are you open to this mindset? Never a failure, always a lesson. If you reach out to someone, you send a connection request and they don't accept, that's okay. On to the next one. So in that way, planned happenstance theory allows you to combine curiosity, persistence, flexibility, optimism, and a little bit of risk taking to actually see very tangible, meaningful results through your job search. And at the end of the day, anything could happen at any point in time, right? That's the world that we live in. So by engaging with all of these activities and strategies, you're opening up pathways for yourself. Maybe you don't know what that pathway looks like, but you're opening yourself and your life up to that. And that's what we want to see.
So as you're kind of opening up your network, I want to share a couple of networking best practices. Like I mentioned earlier, networking should be this symbiotic relationship, really thinking about what you can also offer the person that you want to network with. This could be in terms of resources. I work with a lot of students actually, and when students are in their programs, they have this like really special time where they can just spend all their time researching and reading books, and they're in the know. And when they're reaching out to some of these professionals who are really busy, they are sharing these resources. And maybe what could be a great idea is to send the resource and say, hey, I thought you'd like to know about this article that I just read, and I took the liberty of just like highlighting the bullets of the key points here. I'm sure that's like something that I know I would love if I had someone that was like feeding me these resources. So if you really think about what you can offer the person in exchange to your relationship with them. When you're reaching out to folks, I always say, like, when it's the first like cold message that you're sending them, if you're emailing them, you can use your personal brand statement, start to share like, here, this is what I do, this is what I'm about. But take some time to research the person, so you know that they know that you've done the legwork to really know about them. It will make them feel good, but it also clarifies why you're reaching out to them. It's like, hey, I'm reaching out. This is what I do. I noticed you recently wrote this ESG report with your team, and I really found these initiatives to really be impactful. I was wondering if we could find some time to have a 30-minute conversation or just stay connected. But the clearer you are and the sharper you are in your communication, the more likely it is someone will reach out and reach back. We're all really busy. So, really making sure that you clarify your notes and I know why you're reaching out to me helps. Also, network before you need it. What I mean by that is reach out to the folks that you are, knowing that are in your ecosystem. What I mean by that is when I work with my clients, we start out with this like landscape map. So maybe if there are like 2 or 3 different climate interests you have, map that out and then note who are the key stakeholders, who are the companies that you feel are doing this the best, or in your opinion, like have the right lens to this work. And then drilling it down even further, who are some of the people that are, this is overused, thought leaders in the space, right? Make a list of those and kind of start to navigate, create your web, as Radhika was saying. Like you're your spider, you're creating your ecosystem web of who you want to connect with. This will help you strategize how you pursue your outreach. Reach out to these folks before these roles are posted. Build your network. And lastly, don't limit your conversations to just executives. While we're seeing a lot of these executives post often, they're the stewards and they showcase their company, they're really busy. So find others within the organization to reach out. They'll more likely have more time to connect with you and will be more likely to circle back. And now I'm going to hand it to Natalie. She has this great networking practices template to share.
Yeah, very quickly. We won't go over it too much because we'll share it, but I know better than anyone when you have millions of conversations with people, they all start blending together. So it's a template where you can just track those conversations. You can see the last contacted date when that's reached 3 months. It sends you a reminder to reach back out so you can maintain those connections throughout. So again, just a great way to keep track. You can duplicate this template and make sure, hold yourself accountable for these networking conversations. Awesome. Well, that is the majority of our presentation today. Obviously, some shameless plugs for ourselves. If you need more help, I am hosting a climate career bootcamp with Terra.do. It is coming up next month. It's going to be 4 hours in depth on all of this stuff. So again, we'll share these links out, but if you'd like to learn more where this came from, happy to help do that. And
Yeah, I work one-on-one with people. I have group coaching programs and I partner with organizations on doing these sorts of workshops as well. So if you're interested in, if you need one-on-one coaching, if you need a resume review, I have a monthly job seeker group as well. The next session is on October 14th it's virtual. Or if you need, help just kind of like learning the ecosystem, getting introduced to people, whatever it is, just come talk to me. I've got some business cards. And have a variety of ways that we can work together.
And yeah, similarly, I also host one-on-one coaching to help you strategize and build your roadmap as you're kind of navigating the space. I also have a few courses, group courses, the Resume Revamp, which is a weekend course, and then the Complete Career Boost, which is a longer course that you can check out. I also host a webinar series called Green Career Stories, and I've been hosting them every other month. I started about 5 years ago with these, but I interview folks in the field and we learn more about their career journeys. Hearing about folks when paving their path, like their path wasn't linear. And I think it's really helpful to hear like all the directions they took, what helped them, their resources. So you can tune in for those. You can find them on Green Lens Consulting.
Awesome. So now is the time to go and do all the things that we talked about. Feel free to take your time with it. But number one, I would say go ahead and just make sure you're connecting with everyone you meet on LinkedIn. Maybe you already know this, but I was really quick going to show everyone. If you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, maybe let's do it together. Go ahead and open it up. Go to the LinkedIn app. There's a search bar right at the top. And you'll see, click on the search bar and you're going to see a little square icon pop up. You can actually, everyone has a unique QR code that goes straight to your LinkedIn. So we're post business cards now, right? Even though I have some. But this is a really quick way, if you just want to remember who someone is or connect with them, super easy way of doing that during Climate Week. So number one, make sure you're connecting with people at all the events you go to. I would love to encourage you to make at least one post about Climate Week this week. It could be this event. You could tag all 3 of us. We will definitely interact. But you could also, we still have a few more days left. Whatever it is, make at least one post and see what happens. And if you feel like it, let us know what happens. I'm actually very curious. And lastly, take the time to integrate all these profile improvements on your profile. You can do it over the next few weeks or, whenever you have a moment. And you can kind of take some time with it, especially when it comes to following and connecting with people. That takes some time to build. So allow yourself that time, but start making those profile improvements, definitely. Awesome. So I think
I think we have some time for this. So I think we have time for the networking exercise. So now it's time to take all the information you learned and put into action and start a conversation. So the goal of this interaction is for you to understand how you can help the person you're going to speak with and how this person can help you. You can utilize your personal brand statement to introduce yourself. And we're going to give you about 10 minutes.
probably do it on the way out.
Or you can do it on the way out. Yeah. So Yeah, we'll meet you. Thank you for joining. LinkedIn, thank you for hosting us in this beautiful space. And you can practice this networking component back out where the refreshments are.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.